We've had a very good discussion with the Malay community on the tudung issue. It's something which has been simmering for some time. It's an old issue, in fact, goes back many years. And as the customs have changed, expectations have changed, there's been more desire amongst the community for the women folk to wear the tudung at work in various contexts. And so when the issue became hot on the internet recently, I decided it's best we have a candid, heart-to-heart discussion with the community leaders. And we've been preparing for this for some time. So today, when we came prepared. They came prepared, and we came prepared. As I told them, the issue fundamentally is not the tudung per se, and certainly not nurses' tudung as a narrow question, because it's a much broader question, and that is, what sort of society do we want to build in Singapore? It's a question which we face right from independence. In fact, it's a reason why we became independent, and that is that we are in Singapore to build a multiracial society where everybody has full and equal opportunities, where the minority community can live its own life, its own way of life, practice its faith to the maximum extent possible, and not be oppressed or to be marginalized by the majority community. Multiracial, regardless of race, language, and religion. That's why we became Singapore. And that is what the government wants to achieve. In fact, wherever possible, we lean in favor of the minority communities in order to give them an extra help in order that they can participate in the success of the nation and to be integrated in. So whether it's education with Mendaki, whether it's our mosque building program, whether it's through other social programs which we have, which many of the beneficiaries are Malay Muslims, this is what the government has done. But if we are going to do this, we have to do this in a broad and informal way. We cannot take it issue by issue. We cannot take it in terms of rights and entitlements. We cannot go on basis of what is the either the rules or the instruction manuals or the laws or the constitution, and try to find a legal interpretation on that issue and press that, regardless and possibly to the detriment of the overall progress of the communities, of our harmony, and of the overall space which we have been able to carve out for the minority communities in Singapore and create for the minority communities in Singapore. It's an approach which has worked for us. We are much more integrated than we were. I think compared to many other societies, we're doing much better. But it's an approach which we have to continue to work at maintaining. And if we're going to have anything happen which can change the status quo, we want to make sure that the change takes place gradually and for the better. And you do not want to make precipitate changes, moves, which can lead to either a pushback from the other community, which can lead to further demands from the other communities, which can lead to a weakening of our multiracial ties, which will mean really a much unhappier society, and I think the minorities will be considerably the losers. Because in a society like ours, it is most critical that we are comfortable with one another. Then we can interact, we can work together, same workplaces, live together, same HDB estates, same schools, serve together, and that's the way we have the maximum space for the minorities. So we must not take actions precipitately which can lead to unintended and unhappy consequences. So I explained that the tudung in itself, from the Malay Muslim point of view, is completely understandable. I fully appreciate the desire. Good Muslims want to do this, although there are a range of views on what the exact requirements are. But what we also have to take into account the overall context and how this can interact and lead to different outcomes. And I gave the example of how sensitive things are from the other side of, for example, 2 years ago, when we had announcements in Chinese on the Circle Line MRT trains, quite a number of non-Chinese were took note and were not that enamored of the idea and reacted to the idea because they felt that their space was intruded upon. From the Chinese point of view, this was an entirely reasonable thing because many of the older Chinese don't have English. They want to go around. They need to know what's happening. They felt this was a practical requirement. But it was also a symbolic move, and a symbolic move which I think caused the minority communities to feel, if my space has been restricted a little bit. The common space is not as comfortable as what it was. So we talked to the SMRT, they thought it over, they decided to revert to the status quo. And I think it was many in the Chinese community did not like this because they felt it's a practical thing, it doesn't hurt anybody. Well, why do we have to not do this? But I think what happened, the ultimate position was wise. I give that as an example. It shows how sensitive things can be. So when you put it the other side, and supposing you have a major sudden change in the rules, and you find all of a sudden nurses, many Malay nurses are wearing the tudung. Well, from the Muslim point of view, it's completely reasonable. From the overall society point of view, I'm not sure how people will react. So therefore, if you look back over the last 10 years, the position has not been static. We have had more stat boards, for example, have now quite commonly got their officers in uniform, and the uniform has incorporated some form of a tudung. But I don't think that we should make any precipitate changes, and in particular, we must not make any precipitate changes in the aftermath of a hot and angry discussion which can lead to all kinds of misunderstandings. So it's best that we evolve as we go forward, take it gradually, step by step. Our society will change, attitudes will change, expectations, people get used to different norms. Over time, I think we will gradually move to a new balance. That's the wisest thing to do. That's the way I think we can consolidate our multiracial harmony and make sure that Singapore has another 50 years of stable, cohesive, and harmonious society.